What is up, my people? Welcome back to the house. My name is Paz, and today I'm reading some spooky stories since it's Halloween. We're reading Gorefather, written by Ren01001111. That's a lot of ones. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Editor's note: this transcript is from the video that was posted by the user 1101001 Don't Suffer onto the video platform YouTube, but was deleted only a few days after being posted. Other users who stumbled upon the video, disturbed by the content, saved the video before its deletion, myself included. I think it's unethical to re-upload someone's mental degradation, even if its re-uploads didn't consistently get taken down anyways, but for the sake of interest, I have transcribed it. I have taken the liberty to edit out any pauses and word fillers to make for a better read. The speaker also exhibits some odd behaviors that I have interjected as they happen. One thing of note is that the video itself had a heavy visual filter masking the speaker's appearance, but the audio was high quality and left completely clear. I've included a screenshot. I need to explain my erratic behavior for the past few days. I can feel with every second that I am sinking deeper into myself, and I need to say exactly what happened to me as long as I have any sense of clarity. A little over a week ago, on I think Tuesday, I was going through the social media of some bands I listened to and trying to find out if any of them were playing concerts soon. I do this often anyways, but I was scurrying for shows as most of my friends have either already started the semester or are too busy anyways to hang out. I'm in the quarter system, so I had a month to kill and no desire to spend any of it working. The timing turned out to be pretty bad as most of the bands I liked had come and gone, and I guess this year nobody else wanted to spend the hotter end of the season touring. After half an hour or so, I've given up on social media and I'm onto the websites of my local venues, trying to see if any bills for the weekend catch my eye. Third venue I check ends up having a poster for Friday that looks interesting enough to make me do some quick research on who was playing. The openers are familiar to me, local kids who I've seen once or twice and enjoyed enough to see them one last time before their inevitable disbandment. They weren't what made me stop. The headliner was someone I felt some sort of strange familiarity to, yet I couldn't say if I had actually ever heard of them. They're called Gorefather. Anytime the speaker mentions the name of the band, he stops talking and instead of inaudibly whispers something to himself, continuously for some times over a minute. He then continues to speak, seemingly not noticing his pause. Though the name itself is interesting, what caught my eye was the fact that this show was sold out. I couldn't remember the last time any show for any venue in my area was sold out, let alone for a band I hadn't really ever heard of before. I decided to try and find out if the tickets were being resold anywhere so I could go see what was going on with them. I found cheap tickets being resold for pretty much, cheap. But this is also where I started to notice something a little weird about the whole thing. Buying the tickets was totally fine. It wasn't a scam or anything. But there was somebody commenting a bunch of weird stuff under the guy's post advertising the tickets. I believe I found these comments. They are as follows.
Do not see this band. They are wicked and dangerous and preach disgusting unchristian rhetoric. Their live show was truly horrifying to witness. I saw him and I can no longer see. I saw him and I can no longer see. I saw him and I can no longer see. I saw him and I can no longer see. I saw him and I can no longer see. I saw him and I can no longer see.
I figured it was just some insane right-wing nut having a few too many. There were a lot of folks like that in my area. Sometimes if a metal band famous enough and sacrilegious enough came through the area, there would be a few protesters in front of the venue. So the comments didn't really faze me. If anything, they made me more excited to go to the show. It had better be good if they got these people riled up so bad. It's funny how that works, especially looking back on the comment now. The speaker pauses here, doesn't start whispering. I think in this moment he just reflecting. There's around 30 seconds of silence, save for one sniffle from him. Anyways, Friday comes around and I get ready for the show and walk over there. Before the show, I asked a few of my friends if they ever heard of Gorefather, but none of them had. I figured I was either about to catch a band on the rise or they were going to just be okay. Either way, it was something for me to do, so I was pretty excited. The theater was packed. It stunk of sweat and beer, and it was already sweltering when I got in there. My fake worked, so I was able to get a few drinks and to try to cool me down and loosen me up. I was feeling really jittery for some reason. The openers did fine. There was some pretty bad feedback the first few songs, but other than that, it was okay. Nobody really seemed to pay attention to them. Everybody was just talking to each other and laughing. When the second band was done, though, I felt a sort of wave wash over everybody. Throngs of people started pushing their way to the front, and I was quickly wedged between two really tall, sweaty dudes, so I couldn't really go anywhere. It felt like everybody was holding their breath, their eyes fixed to the stage. After about 15 minutes of this weird energy, the house music and lights went down. Lights went all the way off, which is really unusual and probably breaking the law. Everybody went quiet too. The stage was empty except for a mic. I think like an original Moog Model 10 type synthesizer. A really old freaking thing. And a drum kit. There was a hum that I hadn't really noticed before, but was buzzing incessantly. I thought it might have came from one of those amps, and then the stage lights came on. And I realized that the humming was coming from the synth. I think it was playing the whole time. I didn't even notice him walking on, but sure enough, one of the members of the band was on stage and ready to play. I saw him. He was wearing all black and his face was painted completely red. Not in a Blue Man Group type of way. This red was ugly and splotchy and matted his hair. It looked like dried blood. Maybe it was. I don't know if I can really describe what happened next. I want to attribute to the alcohol, but as time goes on, it feels more and more real. The guy in front of the mic and synth starts increasing the volume, the grit of it, until it's so loud and deep and so sickening I start to try and back up to leave. But I'm stuck. I realize that there is a drummer now, but I can't see him. He builds tension for I don't know how long, until he finally lets it go with a huge kick. With it, I think he let go of something else. I don't know how else to say it. There's a crash that doesn't sound like a cymbal, but like the ceiling is breaking open. The floor shifts. The crowd moves in seats like a violent waters of the ocean, and I don't know where I am or what's going on. All I know is sound and light and movement and bile and stench. People are scrambling and pushing their way towards the front, and it takes me a moment to realize that I feel like I'm slipping and falling backwards. I blindly claw my way forward, grabbing onto anyone I can touch, before I'm pulled back by someone wailing in my ear and I fall. I don't remember anything past that. I don't know if I saw the band play or if I imagined it. I saw him. I remember stumbling home and vomiting in the bushes outside of my apartment. I was clutching my stomach, thought it was because of the nausea, but I realized pretty quickly I was in pain. There was blood soaking through my shirt. I fell asleep that night without taking off my clothes or cleaning up or anything. I was the most exhausted I've ever been in my life. I woke up with a hangover that viciously beat at the back of my eyeballs. The blood on my stomach had dried, and when I looked in the mirror before I took the shower, there was blood on my cheek, too. I don't know if it was mine. The wound on my stomach wasn't too bad. What worried me is that I didn't remember how I got it. I have tried to do more research into Gorefather. I saw him. There has been no mention of them online anywhere that I could find. I don't know how so many people found out about them, but it must have been the same way I did. I'm making this video because I no longer know what is real. I don't know what else to do. Past few days have blurred into each other and I'm becoming increasingly afraid. I have no idea what happened, but something is really wrong with me. I can't stop scratching at myself. The skin on my legs is raw now and I still can't stop. Even though it started to really hurt, I haven't had any appetite. My headache never went away either. I had to find a way to deal with it. I don't know what will happen next. I don't think I have the heart to see it through.
Long pause.
There is one thing I remember from the show. Before I saw him, I remember hearing a few words. They were screamed in a really grotesque way. It was the phrase, "Payment is due."
There's a crash off camera and the speaker violently whips his head to see it. We can see the speaker's side profile and we can see that his eyes, previously masked by the heavy filter, are gone. They seem to have been gouged out with a dull object. The speaker scrambles to the camera and shuts off. There has been no mention of the band Gorefather before or since this recording. The user who uploaded it is still unknown and hasn't been heard of since before its original deletion. A few comments on the video were always met with a reply of, "I saw him and I can no longer see." Well, that was, yeah. Wow, okay. The story is really intriguing. I think it was, me personally, it was alright. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was more so like the old school creepypastas where like they say, hey, is this real? Is this not? Nobody knows, and people are still researching for this. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. So for what it was. So I hope that story, you guys enjoyed it for Halloween. Hope you take care of yourselves, and remember, do something positive that you love to do, and I'll speak to you all next time. Ciao! Psych! You thought I was done? No, there's one more story to read, and this one's called Bob. Andrew woke up with a start. He knew what had happened and his heart sank. The sound of the glass shattering downstairs had done the same to his nerves. It had come in. After weeks of watching and stalking him, the creature had finally decided to break in. The patio doors, made completely of glass, provided with the perfect entrance. Andrew laid there in bed, in the blackness only illuminated by the small amount of clear light that the moon provided through the space between the curtains. He listened for the creature, listened to see if it was inside, secretly praying that everything would be silent. The terrifying cracking of glass under its feet confirmed his worst fear. It had finally made its way into his home. With this crushing realization, Andrew, now shaking, grabbed his titanium baseball bat and crept downstairs deeper into the darkness. Determined to confront this thing once and for all, secretly hoping, though, that it would run away when it saw him as it normally did. Andrew stood at the bottom of the stairs, listening. At first. All he heard was the cracking of glass under the creature's feet. Then, for the first time, Andrew heard the creature breathing heavily as if its throat was blocked by phlegm. The hideous creature snarled and clicked, gradually getting closer to Andrew. Now, out of the kitchen, the creature was finally off the glass. It walked almost silently now, strangely more agile than it looked, especially considering how clumsily it ran away. Andrew realized what he had to do. He grasped his weapon tighter and froze, unable to move. He knew he needed to attack, but he just couldn't. Its teeth, its eyes, its skin, human, but not quite. The creature was in the living room now, edging closer by the second yet. Andrew was still terrified to move. Even if it didn't have arms, this creature was the embodiment of terror to Andrew. Andrew stood at the bottom of the stairs, shaking. He heard the creature getting ever closer, the sickening sound of its distorted breathing amplified by the almost pitch darkness. The creature was nearly at Andrew. He had one chance to kill it, and he wasn't going to waste it. The creature stepped into the doorway to the stairs. Andrew was hidden just to the left. He swung at full force, hitting the creature in the chest with the bat. The creature staggered back, then stopped and looked at Andrew, its tiny wild eyes staring into Andrew's soul. Andrew felt deep fear to the creature, unlike anything he had ever experienced. The creature then let out a gurgle hiss at Andrew, baring all of its sickening, deformed teeth in the process. The creature kicked Andrew in the gut, widening him. Andrew fell to the floor in pain, unable to breathe. Andrew rolled onto his back and scuffled up against the wall, just looked down at Andrew as if it were judging him, lying there, helpless. The creature stamped on his shin, snapping the bone. Tears began to stream from Andrew's eyes, the pain so intense Andrew thought he was going to vomit. Andrew, now incapacitated, had nowhere to go and no way to fight. The creature placed its foot on Andrew's stomach, pressing down, gripping into his flesh with its long, dirty toenails, with the creature's foot now completely inside his stomach. Andrew started to cough up blood. Tears streamed down his face. He passed out from the pain, and then passed away. The creature loomed over what was by now his bloody corpse. The creature descended its face towards Andrew, and then tore it away, a bloody piece of flesh from Andrew's chin, dislocating one side of his jaw in the process. The creature continued to tear and eviscerate Andrew's corpse until everything the creature could stomach had been devoured. The creature then left, calmly, silently, with a pure and deep hatred in its heart. The creature left the same way it came in, through the broken patio doors. Well, I'd say that was pretty chilling. For one, the creature in and of itself is described as just human-like, but not to the point where, it's human. No arms at all and disgusting-looking teeth. I can assume that Andrew was terrified. I would be, because a damn-looking creature just broke into my house. I don't know what to do at that point. But anyways, yeah, those were two stories, Gorefather and Bob. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this time. I really am saying that was those two stories this time, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed. Happy Halloween, and remember, do something positive that you love to do, and I'll speak to you all next time. Ciao!